podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast, a very special episode for the end of the year. The Tech Guy, Best of 2020 for December 26th, 2020. It's episode 1757. Enjoy. All this year, the Tech Guy podcast has come to you from TWiT's LastPass Studios. Now, you're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more. This episode of The Tech Guy is brought to you by Twilio. Strengthen your customer relationships by uniting communications across your entire business. Get everything you need to build and deliver a new customer experience with Twilio. Go to twilio.com to learn more. Hey, everybody, it's Leo Laporte. Normally, of course, you'd have a brand new Tech Guy show, but this weekend we're taking the week off for the holidays. Seems like a good idea. So we decided to put together a little clip episode, some of the best moments from the year gone by. There's one thing I think, a little bit of an expert in. We've been doing podcasts. My first podcast was this show, The Tech Guy Show, back in 2004, believe it or not. We've been doing podcasts since then on my podcast network, TWiT.tv. And every once in a while, somebody calls up and says, "Can you make a living as a podcaster?" Well, I have, but, well, watch. Who should I start the show with?
How about Todd in Cincinnati, Ohio, who
Big
nicely
head.
told me that the 49ers beat his teams twice in the Super Bowl.
Oh, those Bengalis. All right. Thank you, Kim Sheffer. Hello, Todd. How are you? Welcome.
Leo, I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
Good luck tonight. As Kim mentioned, you guys have beaten us twice, the only two times we've ever appeared. And, hey, I'm still a 49ers fan.
Some of those Niner Bengal games are pretty darn good. I remember them well. Very exciting.
Yeah, we were your first victory, actually.
Yeah, I know. Way back when. Was that the 90s or the 80s? It was a long time ago.
82 and 88 were the years.
Joe Montana.
Yes.
So what can I do for you here?
Well, I have a question that I know I've been listening to you for years, as most people say when they call. But I have a question that you have probably been asked many, many times, but until it becomes relevant in my life, I probably just listen to it and move on and listen to the next caller.
We count on that. Otherwise, honestly, there's only a few different questions. I count on your poor memory for the answers.
Excellent. I have one of those questions.
Okay.
So I'm able to and been in the process of creating content for a podcast.
Yeah.
And, I'm capable of doing all that. And I'm really pleased with how that's going. I haven't launched anything yet.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to find out next, and I figured I'd ask the guru, like, what are the best next steps? Or where do I go to, decipher through all the different options of how you can get your RSS feed sent?
Oh, I can make this really easy for you. The good news, when I started podcasting in 2004, it had just been born, and it was so early that there weren't really any podcast clients. I think Adam Curry wrote a simple one. There were a couple, and to be honest, I had to do everything by hand. I was making it. We were making it up as we go along. I had to create my own RSS feed. Along comes Apple with iTunes a couple of years later. We had to change everything. But, by now, it's 15 years later, it's pretty darn easy. So here's the thing with a podcast. First of all, 7,000 new podcasts a week launch. 7,000. Of them, fewer than 10% do episode 2. So the first thing I would say is pick something you really enjoy, because you're not going to make money on it at first. That's the reason I think so many podcasters pod fade is they think, well, I didn't make any money on this. Well, no, because, it's hard to make money on podcasting. You should do it. For some reason, you might blog or do anything else because you love it. You have a subject you're just passionate about, you care a lot about?
Do I personally? Yes, music.
Beautiful. So step 2 is how do I make it? And that's become easier and easier. You can make a podcast on your phone, on your computer, and then you have to make the feeds that turn into a podcast. One-stop shop, no cost at all. Anchor, Anchor, Anchor.fm. Spotify just bought them for millions of dollars. And it is, simply put, the easiest way to make a podcast. I think that's their tagline. Anchor. If I were going to start all over today, Anchor.fm, easy. So with Anchor, you can literally do it on your phone. You can put the Anchor app on your phone. You can record. It has all sorts of features. You can even monetize. They do ad sales because it's through Spotify now, and Spotify's trying to make money on podcasting. They do the hosting for free. They do the RSS feeds for free. They're literally free. There's no way you can pay them. And you can even make money if you start putting ads in there and all that. Plus, they give you great analytics. I think if I were going to start a podcast today, in fact, I did. I created a little silly one just to play with it. This is such a great way to make a podcast. So I used to have lots of, it was complicated. I recommend a lot of solutions. Do it on your phone with Anchor. Do you want to have multiple people on your show?
Well, yes, and I probably failed to tell you a little bit about this at the beginning, but I have a studio in my house as a musician.
Oh, so nice.
Beyond just a phone, and since it is a music podcast, a lot of it will be like live music and
perfect.
Original.
So you already know how to. Yeah, and by the way, that's the other thing that you got to be aware of music rights. But if you're doing live music, you already have a way to record it. Anchor will literally let you upload to Anchor. You don't have to use your phone to make it. You can upload a file to Anchor, so you can produce a whole show and just upload it.
Awesome. Okay, and that's kind of the like I said, beyond the creation of it, and the fact that I realize I'm not going to make any money. It is a passion, and honestly, like a kinesthetic learner and anything else, like I would pick up things you suggested over the years just to kind of learn and do it, not really make a living out of doing any of it, but just to stay on top of technology.
The good news is all my previous answers up to like a year ago were out of date. You can now do it so easily. And that's one of the reasons there's so many new podcasts is because it's trivial to create a podcast. It's as easy as a blog now.
The content.
Yeah, you can do everything ahead of time. Since you know how to do production, do it all ahead of time, make a file, and you upload it to Anchor, and they do everything. They make the RSS feeds, the iTunes-specific feed. They help promote it, too, because they're Spotify. So if you can start to generate some buzz, they might even put you on the front page of Spotify, and then you're golden.
Awesome. I greatly appreciate that. Can I ask you one more question before you get to the next
What's going to be the name of the podcast, by the way?
Open Jam.
I love it. And it's going to be live music?
It will be about music. It will be about local music for the most part because we have a local venue that needs some attention.
Nice.
That brings pretty good acts.
Fantastic.
And, I was a journalism major as a college student until I realized I couldn't make any money in the future doing it. So I went into healthcare. There will be a healthcare segment. There will be other things, but mostly music. And just kind of following what the passion is so I can enjoy it and not, again, care if I'm making
Very smart. Very smart. And that's really the key. And that's the one thing I do tell people is, it's not a gold rush.
Right.
It's hard work. But if you love, that's why you should always pick something you enjoy more than anything. But if you love it, and my favorite lowrider is here all the way from the Motor City, Sam Abuelsamid. He's a principal researcher at Navigant Research. Has worked for all three of the big three, I think, right? Car makers.
No, I never worked for Fiat Chrysler.
Aw. And he is.
I worked on Fiat Chrysler programs as a supplier, but I never actually worked at Fiat Chrysler.
That counts.
Yeah, close enough.
He's also at Wheel Bearings, the Wheel Bearings podcast at wheelbearings.media. Hey, what was going on between the president and GM this week? Do we know the truth of that one?
Where
he
Mr.
said
Trump
that
is concerned, truth rarely has anything to do with it.
He said that GM refused to make ventilators, so he invoked the Defense Production Act and forced them to.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
GM has been working with a number of suppliers and with a number of their suppliers and a company called Ventec, and basically trying to get everything lined up so they can actually do it. I mean,
you can't just turn a switch and take a assembly line and make it stop making cars and start making ventilators.
Yeah, I mean, you have to line up, all the vendors of the parts, figure out, what's your manufacturing process going to be, and of course somebody's got to pay for this stuff.
Right.
And so, they were working with FEMA, trying to figure out, okay, how many do you need? How's it going to get paid for? And it's just a mess.
It's a mess.
But
the point is
at the federal level.
Their point is that all three of the big three automakers are cooperating.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I feel bad because GM's going to get a bad rap. People are going to remember, they didn't help or they didn't want to help, but that's not the case.
No, it's absolutely not true. I mean, in fact, virtually every manufacturer, every automaker is contributing in some way. They're either, in a lot of cases, they're working with their supply chains to try to help beef up the supply of components to the various manufacturers of this equipment. And we're talking about medical equipment here. It's not a trivial matter to make a ventilator.
No, you got to get FDA approval for one thing. It's not. You can't just crank them out and say, here they are.
Yeah,
now, all right, I just wanted to clarify that. There is another story, of course, thanks to COVID-19, the Detroit Auto Show. Not only are they shutting that down, but they're turning the venue into a hospital.
Yeah, so they actually already did this with the Javits Center in New York, which was supposed to be the venue of the New York Auto Show, which was supposed to happen week after next. And that has already been turned into a FEMA field hospital. They started that this week. They just showed it, I think, on Thursday or Friday. So that's up and running now. And the TCF Center here in Detroit, the big convention center in Detroit, is also going to be turned into a field hospital to treat patients with COVID-19.
Good.
And so the auto show has been canceled for this year. They're going to resume next year, hopefully.
What's happening to auto races? Aren't we coming up to the big seasons, the NASCAR and Formula One seasons and all that?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the seasons started before the outbreak happened. We had the 24 Hours of Daytona in January, the Daytona 500 at the beginning of February. I think we had a couple of NASCAR races before they had to shut down. And so all of the racing series, all the motorsports is shut down for now, for the time being. And some races have been rescheduled for later in the year. We'll see if those actually happen. Hopefully, things will settle down by then, and they can. But in the meantime, they are a number of this big series, IMSA, NASCAR, and IndyCar, are working with a platform called iRacing, which is an online racing simulation platform. So it's kind of like playing Gran Turismo online in a massively multiplayer environment. And
they're replacing the real life races with video games?
Yes. With a video game platform. And the thing is, in
fact, right now on Fox and Fox Sports 1, they're doing races.
They're doing a NASCAR race at a virtual version of Texas Motor Speedway. And
does it look like the real thing?
It does. It does. Because it's all simulated. They've got the camera angles. It looks like watching a real race.
Wow.
But I mean, not obviously the graphics are not quite photorealistic, but it actually looks really good. I watched some of the IndyCar race yesterday from Watkins Glen, and some of the Sebring race that they ran last week. And in fact, last week, the NASCAR race they broadcast last week on Fox Sports 1 got better ratings than most of the recent real races. So this is actually turning out to be quite popular.
Does it look like Forza or one of the arcade, the console video games, driving games? Or is it kind of like that?
It looks a lot like that.
Do you have real drivers or do you have gamers?
Yeah, no, they have the real drivers. The real NASCAR drivers are running today. The real IndyCar drivers are running yesterday. The IMSA sports car racers.
How much like real racing is it? I mean, are the skills transferable?
To some degree. So, a lot of these guys are using, sim rigs that, include motion seats, that give you the feedback through the seat, and you get the steering wheels and pedals and everything. And
are the physics pretty close to the real life physics?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't used iRacing, but some of the other stuff, that I've used, I've played with some of these simulation rigs, and they are really good. I mean, the physics are surprisingly accurate. I've driven on one of these sim rigs on a couple of tracks that I have driven in real life in the same kind of cars, and it's pretty close. And you can do a lot of the tweaking of the settings of your car. You can go in and change some of the suspension settings and change the air, the wing angles and things like that to change the handling. And so the drivers are working with their engineers, and it's serious racing. So it's actually a surprising amount of fun to watch.
You might if you tune by FS1 think you were watching actual racing.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good. And in the absence of anything else, it's not the same as especially if you're used to going live to real races.
Yeah.
But it's really good. It's better than nothing.
And if if the announcers do the same thing that they would normally do, they go, "Oh, and he's coming around," and then
they have the same announcers. They have the IMSA announcers that did the Sebring race last week, the regular IndyCar announcers, Paul Tracy and the other guys that do the IndyCar races did the race yesterday, and so they do the same kind of commentary.
Wow,
as if they're watching a real. I mean, they are watching a real race, just without real race cars. And so
that's a big difference. I mean, you don't have the mechanical issues that you would have with a real race car. You don't.
And if you crash, then they'll give you a virtual tow back to the pits for repairs, things like that. So I mean, they've got all these details covered. Yeah.
And I guess it's better than nothing. Do you think that when this is all over, this might actually become a new esport?
Well, it has been an esport for a while.
They say esports are about to take off because of this.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that racing will become iRacing will become a lot more popular than it has been in the past.
Wow, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't go to a track and watch it, so you don't get the rumble of the engines.
You don't get that in-person experience.
Yeah.
But if you're watching on TV,
it's same.
It's the next best thing. And you can still cheer on your favorite drivers. Same drivers. So it's
the same
good.
people winning as would win on a real race.
In some cases, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It depends. It varies from depending on, some of the drivers are a little more used to racing in a sim environment, but they all practice in these simulation environments.
They do?
Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're not unfamiliar with these.
No, not at all.
How interesting. Wow.
Oh, it's good stuff.
I'm kind of surprised. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
The world is going to be different.
You have to adapt in strange
Absolutely.
times.
And the world is going to be very different when this is over. It's just any drivers ill? Anybody we should be paying attention to? Do you know off the top of your head?
I'm not aware of any drivers that are ill. A couple of Formula One crew members. The Formula One race in Australia earlier this month was canceled at the last minute after a couple of members of the McLaren team tested positive.
Wow.
So there have been some crew members that have gotten sick, but I'm not aware of any drivers.
It looks like we've got to spin out on the track. He's having a little trouble getting the car back on. Here he goes.
Here he goes. He's going back.
He's sticking his arm out to signal a right turn. Wow. They really, so they have the physics, they have the mechanical flaws.
The vehicle models
makes me want to play
really
one.
accurate.
I want to go play Forza.
and the tracks that they're running on, they've gone out and done high resolution LiDAR
They're
scanning
beautiful.
of these.
It really looks beautiful. Except the weather's always perfect. One of the things that makes the Tech Guy Show so fun for me to do is our great contributors. You just saw Sam Abuelsamid, my car guy. Of course, we've got Johnny Jett. He's our travel guy. It's been tough this year for Johnny. He hasn't been going anywhere, but there is a way out. Johnny Jett takes a look at one way you can travel safely during this COVID season. Well, looky here. He's back from his travels all over the world. He's been to Borneo. He's been to Madagascar. He's been to Hong Kong and China. No, he hasn't been anywhere. He's been sitting in his basement.
I've been to Trader Joe's.
He's been to Trader Joe's. You know what? That feels pretty exotic these days. That's like, wow.
Does.
That's world travel, man.
For sure.
Did you get some of those Brazil nuts? Man, that's world travel.
Well, you know what? Travel is actually ticking up a little bit, which is to my surprise.
I see that. In fact, we have somebody in the chat room who has a cruise scheduled, and I think it's early July to Alaska. And
not going to happen.
You don't think it's going to happen?
Not a chance.
They haven't contacted him yet to refund the money.
No, I'm not even sure Alaska's accepting all them the cruises right now.
Right? You can't get off the boat.
And I think there's a no sail order to July 31st, so it's not going to happen.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be extended, by the way.
It's just devastating. I just saw Air Canada laying off 50% of their workforce. They still have to fly these flights empty.
They do. Well, I'm in a big beef with Air Canada right now. I had a flight scheduled for this week to fly from Toronto to New York, and they canceled the flight, and they won't give me my money back or anyone else's money back.
How can they not give you your money back?
They're saying, you know what? Sorry. Even though the DOT requires no matter what airline, foreign, domestic, and they fly to, from, or within the United States, you have to give a refund within 7 days. And United was one of them that was not doing it. JetBlue at first. And so the DOT actually this week, again, the second time, the first one was April 3rd, they had to resend out an order saying, listen, you guys need to refund these monies to people. And Air Canada is still not doing it. They're offering vouchers. But, who knows who's going to be flying again anytime soon. I mean, the airlines now are requiring people to wear masks. I had two friends fly this week. One flew from San Francisco to Sydney, and one flew to New York. And the flight to New York, she said they weren't even wearing masks. Some of them weren't, they would take their masks off.
It seems like the minimum to ask of people. Just wear a mask. It makes a big difference from everything I've seen anyway.
For sure. And and now they're talking about this week, they just came out saying that TSA is now considering taking everyone's temperature before you pass through. And
I don't know why they wouldn't. I know they're doing that in Hong Kong. In fact, they're doing testing in Hong Kong. You get off the plane, and I saw a picture. You saw that picture of people waiting in the airport. You have to wait 8 hours while the test results come back. And even then, do they quarantine? I think they still quarantine for 14 days. You go to your hotel, and they give you it's like Hotel California. They give you a card to let you in, but won't let you out.
Well, they put a tracking device on you. They put a wristband on you. And then they make you download an app. They make sure that your phone number is correct. Hawaii is the same way. Hawaii, they don't put a tracking device on you, but Hawaii, when you land, they ask you for your phone number. They call that number. They ask you where you're staying. They call the place where you're supposed to be staying. They check on you.
And they're serious. They just arrested a New York tourist for violating
he's a fool.
Yeah.
He's posting pictures on social media.
Yeah. Dummy.
But, times are changing.
He's 23. 23-year-olds just don't. They don't know any better.
But they're going to start making everyone download a tracing app. And I don't know what your feelings are about that, by the way.
Who's doing that? Hawaii is going to do that?
No, right now Hong Kong, Singapore, the European Union is considering it. They're trying to figure out how it's going to work when they, go beyond borders. But everyone's going to have to download a tracing app to make sure that if you've been within 6 feet or in contact with someone, they'll let you know.
Well, Hong Kong's done a pretty good job of it. South Korea's done a pretty good job of it.
New Zealand's done an amazing job.
New Zealand.
Iceland's going to be the hot spot right now for travel. They're opening up June 15th. A lot of people are talking about going there.
There are 0 cases in Iceland right now.
And they will test you upon arrival, or you can do a 14-day.
It helps to be an island.
Yeah.
You can kind of control egress and ingress.
I think that's the only way you're going to keep it out.
I see, though, somebody's saying in the chat room that Italy's now open for business. I'm not sure I'd want to go to Italy right now. I love Italy. I love Italians.
Yes, Italy's even paying for half your ticket if you would go. There's cases of that. But, I'm not comfortable going to Italy right now, and I'm part Italian. But you know what's going to be big this year?
What?
Is RVs. So,
but now I know a number of people who are living in RVs who are struggling a little bit because the RV parks have been closed. So they'll reopen, though, right now, and you can
they will be limited. I think getting a
RVs
reservation,
are not meant to be lived in without plugging in somewhere.
That is true. So I think getting a reservation is going to be tough at these national parks.
Right.
The parks a lot of them are closed. They're always changing. But camping is going to be huge. And by the way, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousin who's just started a camping website blog. It's called einerscampingtrips.com. It's really basic website, but he has really good information. The guy's been camping all of his life, and
that seems like that would be safe, right? As long as you're not, camping right next to somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the whole thing. And I think that's what people want. They've been indoors. They want to go outdoors. They want to be away from people.
Yeah, exactly.
So camping
the
and
last thing I want to do is go to Vegas and sit with a bunch of people at a craps table. The first thing I'd like to do is go outside and enjoy the nature far away from other people. That sounds safe.
And that's the trend right now.
That's what we're going to do this summer. And we're all going to do it,
Iceland's
which
popular.
means we'll all be, the national parks will be jammed.
Well, yeah, and the national parks, some of them don't even want you to go.
Yeah.
And a lot of the park rangers don't want you to go because they're then put at risk. Though, I mean, you want to be outdoors. The beaches in LA just opened up this week. You have to be active. You can't put a towel down or a
That's
umbrella.
fine, though. We need exercise. We need fresh air. The evidence is as long as you're wearing a mask and you keep moving and you keep social distancing, being outside's okay, right?
You want to be outside. I mean,
don't breathe on me, bro.
But you still need to wear a mask even at the beach in LA, just not while you're swimming.
Oh, yeah, it's probably not good to wear while swimming. That'd be kind of like waterboarding yourself. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Yeah.
No, but there are some good websites, by the way. I don't know if we have time to talk about, different RV websites.
Yes, go ahead.
Where you can rent them. Cruise America is probably the most popular.
You see those all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, there's El Monte
So they're
RV.
back open. They're doing it.
Yeah, I just priced them out for California for the week of June 2nd or the first week of June. Some of them are as low as like $60 a night.
Are you going to take your little family out in a truck camper and see the world?
You know what? I've always said that, when I'm young, I want to see all the international countries. And when I'm older, I want to drive around America. I've never been to the Grand Canyon. I've flown over it hundreds of times. I'd never been to Yosemite.
Oh, you got to go, man. It's beautiful.
So, I've always dreamt about doing this. I just don't know if I'm ready yet, but I'm getting close.
So maybe Johnny Jet will be Johnny RV soon.
Well, listen, I still think people need to get out outside, but do it at a safe distance.
Oh, yeah, we're getting
I just don't know about
fever.
plane travel.
We got to get out of. We got to get out of. Get a little distance between each other. Yeah. Grand Canyon's probably big enough. I think you'd be all right there.
Yeah, as long
Stay off the donkeys.
You need to make reservations.
Do you? Oh, yeah. Even now. Probably more so.
That's recreation.gov, by the way, for if you want to make reservations at different parks. Recreation.gov. And also the National Park Service is nps.gov, which is an important website
this
for anyone.
This is exciting. We're traveling again.
People are. I mean, 240,000 people passed through on Thursday. 3 weeks before that was 95,000 people passed through TSA checkpoints around the country.
Almost tripled. Johnny Jet, johnnyjet.com, on the Twitter at Johnny Jet. He'll put all the links up there and on Instagram too. And soon you'll see him waving at you from the back of an RV, traveling down the road.
Front.
Okay. See you, Johnny. Paul in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Leo. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Long-time fan. I still have the video, the VHS video, How to Build a PC with you and Patrick Norton. That's one of my favorite keepsakes.
I have it. I'm looking at it on my shelf. That thing is so out of date. Well, I'm glad you have it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my first experience building a PC using that video. So
Wow. That's really fun. I've made a few videos on how to build a PC. I don't think I'll be making any more, though. Probably not the best use of time. What can I do for you?
Okay, yes. Well, I was recently in, it just posted today, the Eric Whitaker Virtual Choir 6. David Pogue talked about it this morning on CBS Sunday this morning.
Cool. You're in that?
Yeah, well, along with 17,000 other singers. So
It's not that exclusive, but still.
yeah. It's a wonderful, symbol of unity and everything. If you want, I can drop a couple links.
Oh, it's all on YouTube. I've seen it. It's really great stuff. Really neat stuff.
Awesome. And so I wanted to kind of give a shout out to that for everybody to watch it. It's great. But I wanted to ask, since I was in that, and I kind of wanted to get more into doing this on my own.
Yeah.
And I've heard of a few, I've seen a few YouTube videos on how to make Zoom, how to remove as much latency as you can.
Yeah, see, that's the trick. That's what Eric's doing that's so interesting. And so tell me, when you're in the choir on the call, you're all by yourself? What are you hearing?
Well, that one worked. The way that one works is it's all pre-recorded. He does those all pre-recorded. Like, he sets up all the tools, and we get the score, and he even does rehearsal videos. But
how do you do the tempo? Does he send you a click track or a metronome or something?
Oh, it's actually pretty ingenious. He plays the video, and he claps, and he says, everybody clap at the same time and
right.
you hear the clap, and that lines everybody up.
3, 2, 1, boom. And then he can, with his editing computer, he sees that clap as a big spike on the waveform, and he lines that all up. Now everybody's starting at the same time. But the next problem, of course, is to make sure they stay on tempo. Because if you get ahead, you'll be, you want to stay as if you're singing with the actual choir. So he's obviously doing something. He's playing back audio to you that you're singing along with, I guess.
Yes, and I believe he got like a bunch of students from the Colburn School of Music in the LA area, like a bunch of interns to give them jobs. He kind of had them sort of screen the videos and look for issues, and I think they just try to line it all up, and whenever people are not singing, they
So cool. Hey, I have to run, but hang on. We'll talk some more off the air. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up. So
I hear you.
I get this call a lot, and I've mentioned those other services, but and then I've talked to musicians since who say, yeah, you wouldn't make a recording that way. You might be able to rehearse that way. But yeah. And I've seen, I don't know if you remember John Krasinski's Some Good News channel on YouTube, where he got for instance, a cast of Hamilton to get together and sing a song from Hamilton. That was done the same way. You have to do that the same way. You can't do it in real time. Yeah. You can't do it live.
Yeah. Pogue does it with like a group of 6 on in the segment, and they sing Happy Birthday, and it just kind of falls apart.
Yeah, we've done that. So we do that at work. We, when people are at work, we'll have birthday parties for everybody's birthday, and we tried once doing it on Zoom. It was so awful. We never tried it again.
Yeah, what's fascinating about music, and Whitaker talks about this, is literally milliseconds of time is like an eternity.
That's right.
When synchronizing voices and instruments together.
That's
very interesting.
It's very, very difficult to do. So he must have a lot of volunteer editors and so forth who help him with this.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
Yeah. So tell everybody to support by buying the tracks on iTunes.
They're beautiful. I will. This is. I didn't see the CBS this morning. I'll have to watch that. And then I will definitely buy some of this. Good for him for doing this. That's really cool. Really cool. And he's been doing it for a long time. Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Oh, yeah. This is the 6th version. I think he started in 2010 or sometime around that with the first one. So it's been getting larger and larger. And especially because of the pandemic, they went from the last one, Deep Field, which is a great one on the Deep Field Hubble telescope.
Yeah. With
7,000 singers, and then from about 6,000 or 7,000 to 17,000 because everybody's home. So yeah, it's huge.
So if you really are serious about this, you can spend some money. He sells for $600 a hard drive with all the individual tracks on it, and you can load it into your digital audio workstation, your DAW, so you can see what's going on. You can actually see.
Yeah, Whitaker shares everything. He shows the whole, very transparent, shows the whole process.
Yeah, it's really, really very interesting. Yeah, holy cow. That's a work of a lifetime. That's really interesting. Yeah. Hey, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, thank you, Leo.
My pleasure. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that. That's fantastic. Take care, Paul. Another of our great contributors in the Tech Guy Show is a guy I've known for so long, more than 20 years. And in fact, I knew him before then because I grew up reading Mad Magazine. It's Mad Magazine's longest-running author. I think he's been in every episode for 5 decades. And, of course, he's our good friend. Dick DeBartolo, we call him our Gizmo Wizard, our Giz Wiz. It turns out, and we've been doing a show together for a long, long time. 10 years ago, I sent an email to my future self. This is Dick DeBartolo and me talking about what we thought would be happening in 2020 back in 2010. And boy, I got to say, I was really wrong. You're a gizmo wizard, but today we're going to travel back in time.
You know what? I have to thank a guy named David Canario, who is a fan of TWiT, a fan of the GizWiz, and he said, Dick, I was just looking through old GizWiz shows, and I found a daily GizWiz show you and Leo did September 2009, where you were making predictions. So I was making silly predictions. The only one that I made that sort of came true, I said, in 11 years, Microsoft will be up to Windows 55, and it still won't work right.
Well, you were right on the last part.
But you said, wait a minute. I have a list. Yes, but you said, I'm going to mail myself a list and have it delivered in 11 years. And that happened. So tell us how that happened.
I don't even remember doing this, but I got an email the other day from futureme.org. And it allows you, I guess it's still around, which is, by the way, one thing I would have not predicted.
Me neither. I said, they can't be still here. And I went there, and they were.
Yeah, write a letter to the future. So, and you can deliver it in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. I guess we chose 11 years because I wrote this September 1st, 2009. And I sent it to myself because I guess, so you didn't do this, just me.
Just you.
Because you sent me an email saying, hey, we should do our predictions because you found this old show, or our listener did. But then I got the email. Dear Future Me, I'm writing this from 2009. We still have the internet today, but no flying cars. And Dick was right. Something was very wrong. Did you say that?
I think I did. I'm sure I did.
So,
otherwise you wouldn't have written it.
I have to say, my predictions aren't that good. And I've always said I'm not good at predictions because it's so hard to predict, especially in technology. You just don't know what's going to happen. And if I were good at predictions, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be buying stocks. So don't listen to these. But this is what I said. Prediction number 1. In 2020, we will wonder why we thought Twitter was such a big deal. That was completely wrong. It's become a bigger deal.
Well, with a lot of people, a lot of people think it's terrible. So yeah. It's not a terrible prediction.
Well, but it is a big deal, and a lot of that's due to the president, right? Who knew? I don't think in my predictions I would say Donald Trump will be president and he'll make Twitter great again. I don't know if I would have put that in my predictions. Number 2, This might be, arguably, this is maybe accurate. Facebook will be the biggest internet company of them all. That's not true. Apple is. Google's bigger probably than Facebook, but Facebook's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3.
And this one is a little wrong.
Completely wrong. Google will still be a search engine. You could argue is wrong there because it's much more than a search engine now, but no longer dominant. Nope, nobody's taken their place. Nobody's taken their place. And number 4 was really wrong. Microsoft who?
Well, I think people still have that feeling about Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft tries, but it seems like I don't know if they try too hard. I don't know.
They reinvented themselves in the 10 years. And it would have been fair to say, Microsoft will no longer be reliant on Windows and Microsoft Office for the bulk of its revenue. It's now a cloud company, and I think that trend's going to continue. But it's actually more successful than ever. So I was wrong. I was really pretty much wrong across the board there. What was your prediction?
You know what? Mine were all silly. I can't even remember. The only thing I kept saying as I listened, this is silly, this is silly.
You know what was silly? Me sending an email to myself so that I could actually be on record.
Oh, I think that's great.
But I was wrong. But who knew about, I mean, this is why it's hard to predict. Who knew Satya Nadella would come along, right? Who knew that Google had such a lock on search that no one would be able to beat it even in 10 years? I didn't know that. That was
yeah. Who knew that Microsoft would hook up with Google,
right,
to help to be part of their search engine,
right? And then I'll stand by that. We'll wonder why we thought Twitter was such a big deal. I'm still wondering that. I have not stopped wondering why Twitter is such a big deal. That is actually an accurate prediction, maybe the most accurate of all.
Well, I think the thing here is that you can still, none of us remembered that you can send emails 10 and 15 years into the future.
So let's do it again. I'm going to choose a date.
Okay.
Let's do it 10 years, right? So 2030.
Let's do 11 years. So it's
2031. September 5th, 20. That seems like such an infinite time in the future. Dear future me. What would I predict? See, this is why I don't do predictions.
It is difficult.
COVID-19 will still be around. We still won't have.
CBS will still be
virtual.
11th year.
We won't have flying cars
or airplanes.
We won't have anything. Will be in the air. It will be 5 degrees warmer than it is now. And it's already pretty hot.
That's a given. That's pretty easy. Yeah.
And TikTok will be the new Facebook. I don't know. You know what? Even more than in 2009, I feel like it's impossible to think what the world will look like in 2031. Don't you think?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. There'll be more Bluetooth things that you will think, why in the world? Why do we need Bluetooth thread?
I'm going to predict. I'm going to write this. Bluetooth will be a thing of the past.
Oh, okay.
Bluetooth
and
who?
What's replacing it?
I don't know. That I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Bluetooth. Okay. I am going to send this again so I can be humiliated in 10 years. Okay. I think one should be humiliated once every 10 years. Okay. Bluetooth will be a thing of the past. Okay.
All right, I'm going to predict you will have a ring that will have all your credit cards on it. And no matter where you go and no matter what you want to buy, your one ring, it'll have your gym membership.
One ring to charge them all.
And to charge them all and to get you into places.
So that's your identity.
Yes, you won't touch anything in 2031. But if you lose your ring, you're dead.
What do you think? See, this is why it's so hard. Because in some ways, 2031 will be just like today. But in weird, unpredictable ways, it'll be nothing like today. Well, I wouldn't have written in this letter, you'll have been for the last 6 months staying at home and everybody will be wearing masks when they walk around. I would have not been able to predict that in 2009.
I mean, because that's a little part of 11 years.
Apple will be worth $10 trillion. I wouldn't have predicted that.
Okay.
I wouldn't have predicted that.
Do you predict that you will be sitting in that exact spot doing this exact thing in 11 years?
Yes, but I'll have a different ball to sit on.
Okay.
I predict. People probably don't know that. I'm not sitting in a chair. I'm sitting on a yoga ball. Just so I can bounce.
Yeah.
I like to bounce.
I predict I'll be sitting here with a different shirt. I will say that.
I predict I will have the same exact necktie.
Oh, okay.
One of the things that's really fun about doing the Tech Guy is it's heard all over the country, and especially in L.A. and Hollywood on our mothership, the great KFI. That means a lot of Hollywood types listen, even the occasional movie star. A call from a celebrity coming up next. But first, a word from our sponsor, Twilio. I have been using Twilio for years. You know, I'm just an amateur coder. I'm not a big shot, but I've had different plans, and different things I've wanted to do, like, for instance, building a chat bot for our chat room or sending out text messages automatically to alert our hosts about things that are coming up, stuff like that. Whenever I need to use the telecom network, I always turn to Twilio. The world's changing fast. You want to build new ways to help customers. Twilio can help you do it. Engage customers on any channel, anywhere, and in any fashion they want, from text messages to emails to phone calls to video calls and more. It's one powerful platform that doesn't require you to be a telecom guru. It's easy to use, but it does make you have some superpowers. Twilio powers 795 billion plus interactions across channels with 5 nines of uptime. That's 99.999% of uptime. Talk about scale. They have 3 billion phone numbers available across more than 100 countries. Twilio is there for you, whether you want to. Well, Shopify uses Twilio for their entire global contact center, supporting more than 1 million customers. They use a Twilio Flex. It's a programmable contact center solution. Blue Apron uses Twilio. Perhaps you're a Blue Apron newsletter subscriber. I know I am. That comes to us from Twilio's SendGrid. Now, whenever you log into Netflix, I hope you're using two-factor authentication. If you are, that's done by Twilio. And by the way, just a little side note, Twilio makes Authy our favorite authenticator app. Everybody should have that on their phone. If you use Lyft or Uber or other ride-sharing or contactless delivery services, when you get a text message saying your food is on the way or your driver's almost here, yeah, you guessed it, that's Twilio's text messaging. Twilio lets you get the word out, lets you connect with leads over text messaging and phone calls, lets you do email campaigns, lets you build chat bots to answer questions, ranging from account notifications to text messaging to chat bots to securing online accounts with two-factor. Twilio's there to create new ways to communicate with your users, and they can do it inside your application. It's built by developers for developers. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to be a telecom guru. If you can develop a web app, a couple of lines of code, and Twilio is there. It's very easy. If your developers build web applications, they can already build apps that text, call, chat, and video conference. Strengthen your customer relationships by uniting communications across your entire business. Visit Twilio.com to learn more today. TWILIO.com. Twilio. It's time to build. Now it's time to take a call from a guy I just think of as Steve from New York. On the line, my friend Steve from New York City, who is always welcome on the show. It's good to talk to you, Steve.
Good to talk to you.
Things going well?
Was at a concert where I had arranged tickets for you to come see Martin Short and myself.
You're never gonna let this go, are you?
I am so angry with whatever happened, because then your tickets weren't there, and then you paid to get in.
But of course I did. To see you and Martin Short, it was worth every penny. It was amazing.
I wanted to host you, that's all.
And then, of course, you're giving it away on Netflix now, so it's like I could have.
Yeah, right, giving it away for free.
I could have saved some. Are you still touring? Are you still doing that?
Well, no, we can't. So we had 30 shows planned for the. They're all canceled.
Oh.
But it's the right thing to do.
Of course, you want to stay safe, and you don't want your audience to get sick either.
You want the audience to stay safe.
Yeah.
We were in Ireland when the thing really started to happen, and we were going to play Belfast that night.
Oh.
And we March, and we said no, we just can't honestly do it. We were supposed to go to Royal Albert Hall, and we said it's just not right.
Well, I'm sure the day will come when Marty can drag that bodysuit out of the closet, out of mothballs.
We'll do it, but we're doing a television show,
What's that? Tell me about that.
We're doing a television show on Hulu, and it's a sort of a humorous crime show. I'm not really here to promote. I'll just tell you.
No, please do. I want to watch it. That's great. We need this.
It's called Only Murders in the Building.
Because you can't go outside?
We live in a New York building, but it won't be out for a year because we got to shoot them all first. But, we live in one of those high-rises in Manhattan, and we're older, and we decide we like true crime, and wouldn't it be fun to try to solve some crime. But since we're old and tired, we think, well, only murders in the building.
So as long as it's in the building, you can solve it. Otherwise, I'm sorry. I got other.
There's a murder.
And we were talking about Father of the Bride. You did a 30-minute reunion that was a Zoom reunion that was so awesome. Nancy Myers wrote it, and oh man,
Netflix YouTube. And it's free.
Yeah,
it's free.
Well, but it's not. But it's for a good cause.
Yeah, for World Central Kitchen. Yeah. So anyway, here's why I'm calling.
Okay.
I have a few woes that I can't seem to address. One is ongoing. I'll get to that later because that's just like being mad at the world, you know. But I use a Windows computer and an iPad, and a lot of times they don't kind of talk to each other.
Yeah.
So I've figured out little ways, you know. But on my iPad, I have a lot of emails from people I communicate with a lot going into junk.
Uh-oh.
And then I'll look in junk like 3 months later and I go, oh,
yeah,
so-and-so. And I move it to the inbox and all that. But I'm a little frustrated because I think I'm going to miss some friend who's going to think I don't talk to him anymore because these emails are going to junk.
You remember that, for years, spam was just the word. I mean, 70 or 80% of your email was spam. And
I don't get spam.
Yeah, you don't, because it all goes in the spam folder. But the problem is the spam filter's too good now, and it's getting what we call false positives, or is it a false negative? I can never remember. Yeah. So here's what generally the solution is. So first of all, you can't do this in Apple's mail program. You have to do this, or it's best to do this with your provider. You're using Outlook Mail, I think I remember.
Well, I'm an Outlook address, but I go through Google.
So your main account is a Gmail account.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then I attach those my other emails to the Google. So
yeah, that's what I do too. Yeah, because Google has very good spam filtering, but sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I did it. You recommended it years ago. I thought that's what I'm going to do.
Sometimes it's over aggressive. If you add those senders to your address book, your contact list on Google, Google will go, oh, he knows this guy, and it should not go to spam.
Okay. I always put my addresses in Google, but maybe there's a few I missed.
Well, that's the problem. This only works for people you want to get mail from.
But here's the other thing. All right. if I'm on Google on my Windows machine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for the thing. If I go to Google Photos, right? And I click on a photo to share it.
Yeah.
And it says send in Google Photos, and I type the name, and it won't come up.
So it's not in your address book. When you start typing that name,
I type in my own name.
Oh, you're typing in your own name.
Yeah, and I know I'm in Google. I'll check it.
So you're trying to share to yourself, Steve?
Well, I said I wasn't finding the person I wanted, so I typed in my own name and it wouldn't come up. I'll worry about that on my
That's very weird. So the sharing should work as long as a person is in your contact list. And again, I would make sure, and again, it's the Google contact list, not the Apple one, but unless you're syncing. But it'd be better to do this at contacts.google.com. Add them. You can actually add it direct from the email on Gmail. You can say, add this person to my contacts. Similarly, maybe add yourself to your contacts and you can share photos to yourself.
I never log into my... Okay, now, I just went into my Google contacts.
Yeah.
I typed my own name, and there's my own name, and it wouldn't come up.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Steve has the worst problems of anybody I know. Yeah. It's always fun to hear from Steve Martin. He's funny. Every time he calls in, he says, "Oh no, I'm not important. Talk to your real callers." But Steve, we love hearing from you, and I love getting those calls for tech help. Don't ever stop. It's just a thrill to talk to you each time. We had a really good call. This wasn't so long ago. In fact, I even did another Ask the Tech Guy segment on this because it was a little bit of a perplexing problem. Here's a guy whose apartment complex really doesn't believe in Wi-Fi security. Michael, he's on the line from Knoxville, Tennessee. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Hello. What's up?
Well, I have my apartment complex offers free internet for its residents.
Oh, that's nice.
In each apartment.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice, and I'm grateful for it, but they have a security problem.
Uh-oh. That's not so nice. How do you know there's a security issue?
Well, it's simple. The network name for the Wi-Fi is the apartment number.
Oh, so everybody would know your login.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But the okay, so
can you change the password?
Nope. Nope, because
so you could log into anybody in that complex's network because you know their apartment number and you know their password.
Of course, because the password is the office telephone number.
Okay, that's really terrible.
So
they obviously trust. They trust everybody to be good.
They don't know what I know.
Yeah, they don't know what you know. Yeah. That is about as bad as can be. But you know why they do it? Because everybody can remember that. In fact, when you move in, they say, oh, hey, your Wi-Fi login is your apartment number, and the office phone number is the password. Isn't that easy? But now everybody can log into everybody else. That is a problem.
Yeah,
that is a problem.
That is a problem.
Let me think about how you would solve that, besides going to them and saying, hey, dude, Leo says this is really dangerous. Can you allow me to change my password? That would be the fix. If you could change the password, then you'd be okay. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Running a VPN won't help because the real problem is somebody going, your neighbor logging into your network. And it doesn't matter if you're running a VPN because they now are on your network.
Well, not only that, somebody out in the parking lot,
anybody.
It's called, you got what it's called. Hackers would have a field day.
Well, a hacker may not know the policy, but certainly all your neighbors know how to log into your network. So what you really need to do is say, look, I understand this is a great setup, but could you please make it so that I can change my password because I want to have some privacy? And if you did that, that would be sufficient.
Well, that's got me nowhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you could do except you could run another router. This is the only solution, is basically treat their... So do you have any box in the house? No, you just have Wi-Fi. So what you need... Here's what you need.
I have a Comcast wireless gateway, which is what they are providing.
Okay.
Each apartment here has its own gateway.
Well, that's good. And can't you log into that and change the password?
No, I would have to have the
administrative login.
Yeah, and they ain't going to give that to me, and I can't say I blame them.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so here's what you need. You need what I call a travel router. A lot of companies sell these. And what it is when I get to a hotel, and it's kind of the same situation. You get to a hotel, you're on their Wi-Fi, right? And the passwords, the login's always trivial. It's usually your name and the room number. So what you do is you can get these travel routers. A lot of companies make them. D-Link makes them. I'll give you an address for something I really like in a second. And you use that router to log in to your access and then provide you with access to the travel router. So the travel router... Basically, you log into it, it's logged into your network, and nobody can get past the travel router, so you're private once again. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, and that seems like something that because I've been listening to Steve Gibson for 6 years.
Oh, so you know. Steve would love this story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are a lot of companies, really any router would work. The reason that I recommend a travel router because it's designed to do this. So what you do with a travel router is you log into it and you say, here's my Wi-Fi access point and password. It logs in. It gives you a new login and password to the travel router, and then that becomes the barrier between you and the outside world. And there are a number of companies that make these. It's a very straightforward solution. The other way to go is with a VPN, and I use VPNs. I often use VPNs made by a company. I was trying to find it here. This is the same kind of solution, but it's even a little bit more secure because it's also for use in a hotel. It's a travel VPN that you log into. I think that's going to be a little more expensive because then you have a subscription. So don't even worry about that. Just get a travel router. Let me see what I used to have a couple in the drawer here. They're gone. I think D-Link made the one that I liked for a long time. But you can search for it. The idea is it's a router that will log into another Wi-Fi access point and then give you your own login. Yeah, it looks like D-Link, TP-Link, a number of companies make these. Well, that's it for this shortened Best of Tech Guy show. It's kind of fun to go back through the year. As tough as this year's been, there have been some fun moments. I expect 2021 to be a lot better, and I hope you will be here with me. We do the Tech Guy Show live on the radio every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope your local radio station takes it live. Some take it on delay, but here's the good news. The podcast is available whenever you need to listen or want to listen, from our website or from your radio station's website. However you listen, I'm really glad you do, and I hope you'll keep on listening to the Tech Guy. Now, please have a wonderful holiday. Please stay safe, stay well, and here's to 2021. We'll see you next year. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.